Alrighty, let's go ahead and put in a crosshair for our player. So the magic of an actual FPS game is that your crosshair is overlaid on the center of your screen. And when we get into raycasting, the magic that's happening is that we're shooting through the center of the camera through your crosshair. The idea of our weapon pointing at the center is just to give the visual appearance of what you're aiming at. But ultimately, what we're aiming at and what we're aiming through is going to be our center crosshair. So to set up a crosshair, it's really, really simple. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to UI and we're going to add an image. So this image is going to be an overlay that's going to be in our game at all times for our crosshair. The sprite we're going to use, if you hit this little circle with a dot in it, we're going to go ahead and select one of the defaults, which is basically this little knob here. Once we have that knob, we're going to go ahead and shrink its size down to about a 10 by 10. And there's our little crosshair. If you'd like, you can go ahead and change the color of this by selecting color. And let's go ahead and make it maybe a bloodshot red. So ideally what we're going to be doing here is when we have our weapon, we can go ahead and make it to where this crosshair will switch between white and red. If it turns red, that means you can actually shoot the object you're pointing at. If it's white, it means it's a neutral object and you can't shoot it. So maybe that's logic that we're going to be adding later. So in the meantime, what we can do is we can go ahead and set this to like a maybe a bluish white here for when you don't have your weapons picked up, because in our game, the objective is going to be find the coin and purchase a weapon. So when we first start, we're going to see just the crosshair. So rename this to crosshair. And then go ahead and select your player, look at the weapon, and just go ahead and turn it off. That's how our game is going to look. So if we actually run this, before we have a weapon, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be able to look around, and now we have a point of reference. Now you'll notice that it gets a little bit difficult to play and look around when we have our mouse in the game view. So how can we resolve this? Well, what I want you guys to do is I want you to research how when we start the game, I want you to hide the mouse cursor, and when you hit the escape key, I want the mouse cursor to come back, because if you don't unhide it, you're going to have a really hard time turning off the Unity editor. So I'm going to leave you guys with that challenge, but essentially in the player script here, we're going to open that up, and when the game starts, you're going to hide mouse cursor, and then inside update, you need to check for user input. And the reason why you're going to do this in update is because all user input goes in update. Okay, anytime you're checking for user inputs, it has to go in update. So what we want to check here is pseudocode would be if escape key pressed, then unhide mouse cursor. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys with that, and I'll see you guys in the challenge review.